Before we begin, I don't want this video to come across as just another Bungie is killing Destiny video. I generally want to take a retrospective view of the history of Destiny and look to the future and suggest ways that Bungie could improve their perspectives on Destiny game design and hopefully improve the overall community sentiment as a whole regarding Bungie and Destiny. As always, any likes, subscriptions, even just plain watch time is greatly appreciated with my channel. Any comments down below, I will always take a look at and will always offer my own perspective for opinions, suggestions, and otherwise. But with that, let's get into the video. Bungie's attempted many times through the various seasons to improve what they called replayability. Often with the season, main activities graduating from more linear missions that repeat the same way every time, to less than linear that would have multiple paths that lead to multiple final objectives. This is a good way to keep interest for the first few weeks, as oftentimes I found myself replaying the main activity of a season to see what new dialogue would occur after certain story developments. However, oftentimes a seasonal title needed a lot of seasonal activity completions, so anyone learns before too long that there isn't truly that much variety and replayability just because it's there, and it often became something to joke about among my friends. A potential source of the issue of replayability would be in how Bungie has done quests and stories from some time now. Majority of cases regarding quests in Destiny, even in Destiny 1, were one-time deals. Once per character, you could run a quest and its associated quest steps. With Destiny 1 though, Bungie was better at retaining some parts of it. Perfect example being the Old Taken War post-campaign quests. After reports of Vex being taken more and more in the field, you were sent to gather some things off of defeated taken Vex. Before too long, you seek the source of the Blight. Then you take part in a mission ascending the Vex Citadel on Venus and battle with the Shade of Oryx, still kicking after you defeated Oryx in the main campaign. After completion of this quest, the mission itself is fully replayable, as is almost every single mission of Destiny 1. A few outliers of course, but even the most meager of missions still available in the Cosmodrome years later from the original base Year 1. Bungie maintained this approach with most mainline stories across Destiny 2. Every main DLC story mission would be available for replay for some time, till sunsetting was a thing of course. The missions themselves repeatable, even if the quests themselves one and done. This sentiment degraded after the initial wave of sunsetting that eliminated entire story campaigns and the launch of the seasonal model. A season began as mainly a weekly story with the associated seasonal activity or activities in plenty cases, often including exotic quests alongside the season. Seasons 8, 9, 10, and 11 offered Leviathan's Breath, Bastion, Fourth Horseman, and Ruinous Effigy, all in exotic quests. Discussed in my previous video though, at this time, a season was once and done. They were immediately locked out and moved on to the next season once the season was done. So if anyone wanted to replay anything related to the season, you had a very limited window for it, if it was replayable. As the seasons went on, a seasonal quest that had weekly updates became the norm, often dipping into the associated seasonal activities, but of course having unique story missions for every season. It was a common occurrence each of these missions were one-time experiences, however. A seasonal storyline was almost always a one-time experience per character, which if you were dedicated, was available for 3 run-throughs in total, unless someone deleted a character to replay, but who would realistically do that? Even the dramatic final missions of a season were often a once per scenario. The rare case for it staying available seemed to be a few scenarios of either a drop from the final mission being a chance drop, and of course can't have a one-time mission and a chance you'll miss out on the big drop, or that the final mission was match-made and therefore repeatable. A few cases I remember being the Vex Invasion of the Last City, finishing Season of the Splicer, and Savathun's Worm Exorcism, ending Season of the Lost. Epilogues were often match-made and replayable, but that's if there was an epilogue to the season, as many just plain ended. There were a fair few that were just a seasonal activity that were used for the finale. Season of the Risen's final cutscene occurred after the final Battleground released, but after that it was just a part of the seasonal activity lineup. Technically replayable, but you could see what I mean. It wasn't exactly a unique final mission per se. In summary, a lot of times there were elements of a season's story that would be unique developments that would only occur once per character, be it some random midpoint mission that had season's twist developments, or the grand conclusion to the latest threat to the last city. Looking at the current seasonal activities menu, this rings true, as between the 3 episodes' many activities, it's all varieties of the main seasonal activities and the exotic missions that should persist beyond the year's end. Even the locations where maps had mission markers are frankly barren of anything that isn't a strike, a battleground, or just the location-specific markers for dungeons and raids, which those can oftentimes be found elsewhere. These things having theoretically infinite lifespans. In the end, this is just a retrospective on Destiny 2 as a whole. Would Destiny be different if there were more activities and experiences that stuck around more often? In the end, I can't say, as there were plenty of small missions that were not entirely memorable. However, in the end, it's an element to the story. You can't reread a book if there's a chapter that burns away after reading it. I'm sure Bungie could cite development issues with keeping those one-off missions around, but that's a reason Bungie uses a lot. Personally, I devoted some of my time recording to archiving the happenings of seasons not long after realizing they were often once and done. And you never know how often something could be iconic enough to want to revisit in person. Finding Saint 14's grave in Curse of Osiris was an amazing thing to experience firsthand. Remembering through a YouTube video doesn't carry nearly as much weight. Would Bungie sentiment be higher if there wasn't just so many single-use tickets to the many stories they tell? Probably, but in the end, I'm just someone that wants Wrath of the Machine and Scourge of the Past back in Destiny. Some people invalidate my opinions immediately after hearing that. As always, the comment section is open for opinions and discussions, and I do mean discussion, as just showing up and saying you people need to yada 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 isn't helping anything. There's enough asses on the internet, and there's no need to be another one onto the pile. The channel itself has just hit 1,000 subs, so as always, there's another major sub goal in the line, so any likes or subs is, again, greatly appreciated. My name is the Mad Scorpion, and I will see you in the next video.